at the tech giants as well, the market cap is actually larger than the four sectors. If you look at Apple and Microsoft, the weights in S&P 500 stands at around 14%, and that compares to energy plus realty plus utilities plus metals. Their total weight is just around 12%, and this is S&P 500 I'm talking about, not even Nasdaq, which is as it is tech heavy. So you see the kind of tilt that we are seeing in the market. Clearly, it's favoring the technology and platform companies. And Nikunj, do you think this could be the time when we see a rub-off impact back home as well? IT sector has been doing well in the last couple of weeks. In fact, last week it was the top sectoral gain, and yesterday as well did all right. Yeah.
So, Anisha, while we always traditionally have looked at Nasdaq and assumed that Indian IT should do well, but you should not do that comparison. And markets are telling you that you should not do that comparison. Now, let's look at IT services, which is TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL Tech. You speak them in the same breath. All these companies are now large companies where the growth in a sense is just contracting. But when it comes to AI, when it comes to product, when it comes to some of the niche SaaS companies in India, they're doing exceptionally well. You go down the ladder starting from, let's say, a Zaggle, go somewhere, you look at a middle company like MapMy India, look at a company like Rate Your Gain. These companies, in a sense, are the ones where the excitement, I think, is very, very visible. So we are staring at the IT sector, which is now divided into a couple of parts. The sumos, which are great capital allocators, but they are going through this cyclical slowdown, which will come back next year. But right now, next 2 quarters, you cannot say that convincingly. Then you got mid-cap IT companies, the niche guys who are doing rather well. So you got a KPIT, you got a Birlasoft, Coforge. That's a very niche cohort, so to speak, but very selective. And then you got the new, not the tech companies, but the real SaaS platform, stroke the companies which in a sense are doing things differently. Now it could be in product, it could be in service, it could be in technology, it could be implementation. That's where I think the new next pot of gold is. And that's what markets are telling you. Look at where the market is moving. So while Nasdaq is doing what it is doing, but for anybody to assume that, okay, rally in Nasdaq means IT will come back, no, don't do that. Please don't do that mistake. You're comparing apple and oranges, actually.
Okay, fair enough. That's the overall view coming in on decoding the tech basket, if you will. But let's talk about what's lined up for this week. And by way of triggers or by way of cues, we'll be watching, of course, for the weekly expiry. You've also got the FOMC minutes. There's a slew of IPOs that are lined up this week, including Tata Tech. But I think, Nikunj, the one that you will be keeping a close eye out on, maybe not this week, but as we step into the next week, is going to be the state assembly polls too.
So, Aman, while cricket match has taught us, okay, semi-final verdict is no guarantee of what the final is, but markets will do that comparison. Market will check the form. And from a market standpoint, the narrative, I think for next couple of days, let's say end of November and at least a day prior to the election counting day and maybe on the counting day, would be centered around what would the entire state election outcome would be. So it may not influence the trade this week. But I think next week the market narrative, and since there is no large calendar event now, let's say from now till the state election counting day, markets will start talking about it. The murmurs, the assumptions, the gossip, the chatter, I think will start. So it may not be a very swing event, but in the near term, it is something which in a sense will set the tone in terms of what the market would do. If Nifty has to break out, I guess if Nifty has to break out convincingly and go and make a new high above 20,000, and if you want to close the year on a last hurrah, then I guess markets would like to see what they want to see in terms of the election verdict, in terms of continuation of the current government.